Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Emhauser. You can find everything we do on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram at Hawk Blogger, and the audio show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and everywhere else. As well, if you want ad-free audio, you can get it at patreon.com/hawkblogger. And today, you find us here on Radio Row with my good pal, Jeff Simmons, who flew in here from Toronto. I flew in from Seattle, and we are here at the NFL Combine, formerly called the Scouting Combine. I don't know if it still goes by that, but everyone just calls it the Combine nowadays. And there's going to be some fun going on. We'll get you guys kind of squared away with what's going on. This will be the one of at least two shows we will do today. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But, man, it's so good to have you here this year, Jeff.
I've been having a great time. It's been crazy. Brian's kind of the king of the combine.
No, come on. Come on.
No, but me and you work well together. You got relationships. You've seen my weird brain in action.
It's remarkable.
I can spot people. I have a great view of faces, and I haven't met a lot of these guys, but just being here for the last day and a bit, it's been pretty surreal. The people you see walking by. We were just sitting down at the hotel yesterday and at dinner last night. We saw Terry Crews walk by.
Yeah,
crazy, man.
Yeah, we'll have to share our experience from last night a little bit because that was pretty fun. But just to get people kind of squared away on what's going on today, and kind of the crawl, walk, run that goes on here at the Combine. So today, it starts with like GMs and coaches. No players are talking. There's no testing, like at least in the stadium going on. So it's really initially you just get some time with different parts of the organization. So if you want, you can talk to pretty much any GM and a lot of the coaches, although fewer coaches are attending than used to. And then tomorrow they'll start to be players. I think defensive line, linebackers will start, and then a few more coaches will speak. And, it kind of goes on through different position groups, so on and so forth. Well, today, 2:00 East, I think we're Eastern time?
Eastern time,
yeah.
Yeah, not the Midwest.
So 2:00 Eastern time, John Schneider will speak at the podium. So anybody that's here, whatever has media credentials, can ask him questions. Then they'll move him off to the side, and Seahawks PR will let local Seattle media have some time with him. And then fingers crossed, John will join us on a show later today. We'll have a chance to talk to John. Not positive. Things change. He's got a busy schedule here, but the hope is we'll get a chance to sit down with John Schneider and have a conversation with him. So lots of good stuff coming up. And tomorrow, Mike McDonald will speak. And he speaks, I think, at 1 p.m., at least currently scheduled, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And then the plan is similar, that we're going to have Mike on the show tomorrow, have a chance to sit down and talk with him. So a lot of good stuff. Plus, we'll be asking questions of prospects, grabbing guests as you saw at the Super. It won't be quite as crazy as the Super Bowl Radio Row, where it's like 6 guests a day. I don't expect that. But we will certainly bring on some people and have some fun conversations.
Yeah, and before you get Schneider and McDonald, you get me. So,
it's all downhill from here.
Yeah,
man.
Talk about the appetizer. Yeah.
Well, we'll share a little bit about our night last night. We'll probably do a little bit of mock draft stuff because you and I haven't done one yet. We got to do our first.
It's so weird.
It's for what is this? It's February 24th.
We've usually done like 10 by now.
10 in the first show. For sure. So we'll do that. But let's talk about some of the news. You were just sharing with me before the show started. So already some stuff coming out here at the Combine.
Yeah, we were walking in, and John Spytek of the Raiders and Eric DeCosta of the Ravens were doing podiums, and there's already been some news that's come out. And the Combine's not just for a draft; it's for free agency. And the Ravens GM just could come out and said that they expect Marlon Humphrey to be with the team next year. And that was a guy, himself was at the Super Bowl parade, I believe. There's been a lot of people tying him to the Seahawks with all those cornerback news. And again, it might be just conjecture, it might be a negotiating tactic, but that's a guy, if that holds true, you got to cross him off the board for the corner situation. A lot of people thought if they lose Job and Woolen, that's another guy.
Do we have any idea why he was in Seattle? He was there before the parade. He then was there during. Does he have family there? Why was Marlon Humphrey in Seattle for all that time? And the Seahawks weren't even there before the parade, and he was there.
I was trying to figure it out myself. I don't know if it's like a McDonald thing. I don't know. I couldn't quite. I looked it up. I don't believe he's from there. Maybe he's got family. But
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if he was handing out resumes around the Seahawks, but
it did seem a little FOMO. Like it seemed like a little thirsty. I guess is maybe the better. Like it seemed like he was making a case for himself in Seattle. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw someone tweeted. I think it was our buddy Zach Schwartz. Was like, no one wants to be a Seahawk more than Marlon Humphrey right now. And
yeah,
it got me pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, so that was Marlon Humphrey. What was the other news?
Other news that we heard John Spytek say. Again, we're trying to figure out if this is news or not, but he said that they expect Max Crosby would be with the Raiders this coming season.
Yeah. That sounds. I mean, what else is he going to say? Yes, Max Crosby's available to the highest bidder. Like he's not going to say that.
Well, what's he going to say? What was the quote on Russell Wilson? We have every intention to keep him here. And I remember Mike Florio, who we actually just saw walking by, he was the one who kind of decoded that, saying they actually said this when they traded for Percy Harvin or something. The Vikings said it, and everyone got mad at him. And they traded him a week later. And so, yeah, you gotta take everything with a grain of salt. But either he's saying come get him, or
I mean, just to be clear, if you were to say, we'll listen to all offers, and you kind of imply that he's going to be traded, then you put yourself in a disadvantageous position because people know that eventually you're going to have to deal him. Maybe they already know that, but there's no advantage. There's no benefit to him being straightforward about, yes, we plan on trading him. Like there's zero benefit to him to doing that. Teams that want Max Crosby are going to come knocking at his door no matter what he says.
Yeah, like you lose all of your leverage in that.
Yeah.
And even last year when Myles Garrett came out and was saying, I want to be traded. I remember the Browns came out and said, no, we're not dealing him. They actually ended up resolving that situation with that contract. But I think every GM who's done this before, and Spytek's in his second year, they know, like, they're not going to come out and say, yeah, Max Crosby's on the market. Send your best offer. That's just bad GMing.
There's a couple other things that aren't necessarily pertinent to the Seahawks, but like meaningful news in some way. Sounds like there's some Linderbaum news as well.
Yeah, when we were at Eric DeCosta's booth, he said that they have a market-setting contract out on him, and he's supposed to be the number one free agent in the market. There's been conversations.
Hold on. We just got to say, there's the man, the myth, the hardest working man here, Dan Brugler. All right, keep going.
Surprised he has a minute of time. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and his schedule
is packed. Yeah.
It's crazy how much smaller some of these guys are. Some of these guys, Brian's probably annoyed. I've brought this up like 12 times already.
It's your most common commentary.
Like I saw Dave Hellman from The Athletic last night, and I don't know, his presence on the camera, and I look up to him, and he's like 5'6". I'm like,
he's taller than that, I think. I don't know, but he's not the tallest guy.
It's just strange. You see these giant, like we saw Ted Wynn last night. He also has like some presence on camera. He's a pretty slim, like maybe not because I'm just bigger than I probably look on camera. I'm used to everyone else, but
I will say the first time that I came to one of these events and saw like Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo and like on down the line, how tiny they all were. That was like they're 5'5". Like they're like not Garafolo is a little taller than that, but Rap Sheet's very, very short. And you just wouldn't guess it. You wouldn't guess it. So I get it. I get it. Seeing people in real life, it is a little bit of a trip.
They're used to seeing like this part of their body. There we go. I've already got a technical issue. I've been here 5 minutes. So, yeah, anyway, Linderbaum was supposed to be the top free agent in the market. Like, I see Greg Rosenthal over there. He has top 101. He's number 2 or 3. And, yeah, he's supposed to be the guy that's supposed to generate interest from the Raiders, the Giants. And so his agent must be very happy they put that news out right now.
Yeah, I also heard there was a rumor that Nnamdi Madubuike, thank you, was maybe contemplating retirement. I had heard, and Eric DeCosta was asked about that as well, and said he doesn't have an update, which didn't sound promising necessarily.
He had a neck injury, and those are scary. And
yeah,
we've seen a lot of guys in Seattle end their careers abruptly on neck injuries. And
so, yeah, I mean, little bits of news here and there, and we'll see if there's other news that comes out. I don't know how newsy of a day it's going to be, at least from a Seahawks perspective. I do have to share a little something, though. Like, okay, so people aren't seeing what we're seeing. Like, it's just a litter of tables and logos and, wiring and cameras. Well, when I was getting set up this morning, and by the way, thank you to the NFL, especially Matt McCarthy, for finding a spot for us this year. It's a smaller space. It wasn't a sure bet that we were going to get a spot on Radio Row, and they made it work. So that was really nice. But I was here setting up, and right in front of us is Texans radio. Or I don't know if I know they represent the Texans. I think it's the Texans organization. Anyway, they had Paul Allen, not the former owner of the Seahawks, the current play-by-play guy for the Minnesota Vikings. And he's on Softy regularly, so I know the voice and I know his face, and I was like listening a little bit, and it didn't even occur to me, but I heard them say, "We got to ask you about Sam Darnold," and my ears perked up. And so, like, they were like, "Were you upset when he did what he did? Like, did that hurt?" And Paul went on this long rant. Like, rant's probably the wrong word. This long story about, Sam like had some talent, and Kevin O'Connor, KOC, really like helped him out, and there's some times where like Jacksonville, he had a bad game, but then they fixed him. But then against Detroit, like there was a number of plays that he could have made that would have won that game, and that was a huge game, one of the biggest in the NFL's history. He was talking about, and then he went in and struggled against the Rams, and he's like, with the Seahawks, there's Greg Cosell, one of the best to ever do it. And he's like, yeah, and then with the Seahawks, he got a lot of help. He got a lot of help from a run game and from a defense, and he played all right. Like, and he's like, no, I wasn't disappointed. I just I don't know what his exact words were, but it was so clear to me that was a very sore subject for a guy he's very clearly like a fan of the team he covers, and I don't really like get a lot of Schadenfreude from Vikings misery, because I mean, who are the Vikings? But I have to admit, I did enjoy that.
Look, I know a lot about Cope. Anyone who's seen like the Canada-US hockey, I know you're not the biggest hockey guy, but there's been a lot of Cope coming from my country. So
yes,
I was making fun of some of the Cope, and I'll be honest, but I can dictate Cope from a mile away. And I've been making fun of Sean McVay recently. I don't know if Paul Allen his tears were too busy during the NFC Championship when Darnold played incredible.
Yeah,
but that's really
that's the game to me that you can say whatever you want. And, he also, I forgot, he's like, and Sam led the league in turnovers this year. And so he's like getting these little digs in. And I'm like, you can say whatever you want. That game in the NFC Championship, he beat the MVP. And he won that game as much, like more than the defense. The run game was good, but it was Sam Darnold that won that game. And he went toe-to-toe with Matt Stafford.
You have no leg to stand on anymore about Darnold because of that game.
Yeah.
And look, if it was just he didn't play great in the Super Bowl, and the first play of the divisional round game was such a blowout. It was kind of like that Jimmy Garoppolo performance where he didn't really have to do anything. Darnold made some throws, but it was 41-6 because of the defense and Ken Walker and everything else. But that NFC Championship, where the defense doesn't play good, he goes in and outduels Matt Stafford and McVay, and he carried the team. And so you've lost all credibility if that's your take anymore. And that really, that's cemented. You can't make that Darnold comment anymore. He's not buoyed by this team. He won the game. They don't win the Super Bowl if not for that Darnold performance.
And what did we all say? That was the Super Bowl.
And it was.
That was the Super Bowl. And he played his best game of the year in the biggest game for a guy that supposedly chokes in big games.
And that narrative's gone too. And I even kind of joked with Mike Sando a couple of weeks ago. I was reading his column before the playoffs, and they're like, Darnold's a history of choking in the playoffs. I wrote Mike a DM. I said, Mike, Darnold's played one playoff game. He's like, oh crap, I better reword that. And it wasn't him, it was the GM. But he's like, you know what I mean, big games. I'm like, yeah, I'm not criticizing you, but yeah, he's a couple inches away from hitting a couple deep passes in the Super Bowl. And he's probably the MVP.
Yeah.
And that's not like saying like, oh, Darnold was amazing in the Super Bowl, but the whole narrative is just gone at this point. Like, he's had two bad games in big spots. I think everyone put too much stock in that old Patriots stuff, and I think you got to eliminate anything with the Jets.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if you're curious. I am curious. The same way I was curious about would beating the Rams that second time, the second game, the first time he beat them, and doing it the way he did it, like touchdowns, 2-point conversion, another touchdown, 2-point conversion to win, all that stuff. Would that kind of lift some weight off his shoulders? Would he be able to play better? And we got some of that, right? I am wondering if next season, if now that he's got a Super Bowl ring, he is like played big in big moments. He doesn't have to answer those questions. He probably still will, but he doesn't really have to. He knows that. I wonder if he reaches a new level next year. I wonder if he's like, I can't help but think that no matter how much he is a guy that seems impervious to all the criticism and questions, I can't help but think that having that like knowledge, like not faith, but knowledge that you can do it will allow him to play freer and better than he did even this year.
It's got to be mentally free. And as good as he is at blocking it out, and I'd say he's incredible at it. I don't know if you heard him speak in the Super Bowl parade, but he's heard it.
Yeah, I didn't. What did he say?
He said there's a lot of people who doubted me, except for you guys, the 12.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He knows. And look, Mike's come out pretty clearly. It bothered McDonald.
It did.
And you can see it in the most Mike McDonald way, but it's something that's bothered them in the building. And I don't know if it's the level, because right after that Rams game, you had that Carolina game where I was starting to get worried. I was joking. It wasn't until week 18 where I started to feel good again. But you have to think it's got to be freeing for him. You got to think, I don't have to answer those questions. I just got to go out and play quarterback.
Yeah. So, I mean, anyway, so that was one that was a little tasty. And then I'm sitting here talking to you. I hadn't even noticed. I'm looking over there, and there's just Patriots logos, like repeating on a backdrop. And I part of the reason I noticed is because the person that's sitting behind that table was like staring at us while we're doing the show. And I was like, oh, and then I looked behind her and I was like, oh.
It's not my good looks.
Oh, no, I don't think it's either of our good looks. But that's also a little tasty. I gotta admit, it's good to be king. It's good to be king.
Yeah, it was crazy. When I got here yesterday, I was wearing it was a little colder than I was expecting. I probably should have done more research on the weather.
Frigid.
It's cold here.
It's frigid.
And I'm coming from Toronto winter, so I should be prepared for this. And so I brought my one beanie, and my one beanie is a Seahawks beanie. And guessing as a media, it's kind of a no-no. But so I throw it on, and all these people at the airport wearing other teams' gear, not fans, people who work in the league, start coming up to me thinking I work for the Seahawks because that's who's typically wearing the team gear. And you wouldn't believe how many people came up to me. Like, I met one of the coaches on the Seahawks' brother who works for the Chiefs, who came up to me and was like, treat my brother well. And I was like, who's your brother? It was Zach Orr. And then I started talking to him about his offseason, and I had a great conversation with him. But it is nice to be top of the league right now. And it was funny enough, we saw Mike Vrabel walking around the hotel, and he had kind of a sad look to him. And we were kind of wondering, like, what's it like having to come back and face everyone? Do you lose a Super Bowl and having to come do this again from the bottom? And maybe some people are inspired by it. Maybe they're fired up. Maybe if you watch that mic'd up segment, I think deep down he knew they weren't going to win.
It seemed that way. But I will kind of building on what you're saying. The thing to me is when you work whatever job normal people have, like we've all have, right, or have had, when something doesn't go well, people at your company don't know. Maybe your boss knows. Maybe if you've got employees, they know. Like whatever. Like there's a small circle. When you lose the Super Bowl and you get your butt kicked, the entire world knows. It's the most watched thing in the world. And so then you come a few weeks later to what's essentially an NFL convention.
That's it.
All the teams are here. All the reporters are here. And everybody that you see knows who you are and knows that you just got undressed on the biggest stage. It's got to feel a little bit like it's got to be in your head a little bit. Like, is this person pitying me? Are they like, they think like whatever? I would think it would be in your head a little bit.
Yeah, and especially if you're Vrabel, you can't hide from anyone. He's like one of the biggest humans I've ever seen in my life.
He's huge.
He's huge.
He's a big, for a linebacker, man. He's a big dude.
Yeah, he definitely hits the gym, and yeah, I see he likes doing drills with the players all the time. And but yeah, it's got to be like you just don't want to talk about the game anymore. And again, seeing the Patriots, it looks like their official website station is right across from us. I'm smiling a little bit, not gonna lie.
So if you're just joining us, Jeff Simmons is with me here in Indianapolis at the NFL Combine. This is actually the Indianapolis Convention Center, and Lucas Oil Stadium is just down the road, and testing will start, I think, or like combine testing will start in the stadium Thursday, I believe.
It's Thursday, yeah.
Thursday, yeah. So before we get into talking, I think we should talk a little free agency. I think we should talk like where we are with the team, and then like maybe we'll have some time. We'll do a mock draft. We'll definitely do a mock draft. We got to do that. But I think we got to talk about last night, dude. Like I mean, maybe people won't care, but I feel like for people that don't get to come here to have a little bit of a glimpse of what the experience is like, I was shocked last year how much fun it was and how many people you had an opportunity to run into. This year I feel a little more prepared for it, but this is your first time. So you arrived like late yesterday, and we like headed out pretty much right away.
Yeah, like I just told you what my airport was like, and that was already surreal. And then the second I get there, Brian's like, all right, let's go over to the hotel. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I don't want to sit in this loft with just us. And
well, hold on. The hotel, people don't know. So the JW Marriott here is where all the NFL teams, like a lot of the NFL reporters, all stay there. So it's kind of known that you just go to the JW Marriott bar or area, and that's where a lot of people will be. So go on.
Okay, so yeah, Brian set that up a little better than I did. But so we're sitting down and we're looking for a spot to have a drink, and this is where I said Brian's kind of the king of the combine, not actually, but and we see Greg Cosell walking by. And Greg Cosell, who everyone knows, been doing this as long as anyone, well, probably the most connected guy here. And Greg just wants to hang out with us and sit down and have a beer with us. And we ended up sitting with Greg Cosell, and you wouldn't believe the people we saw walking by, the people he was telling us the stories, people who just came and sat by our table. Mike Sando was there for a bit, but just the amount of people we saw walking through that lobby and walking through the bar, and people who were sitting with us and just talking ball with Cosell, already that was eye-opening to me. Like, I couldn't dream of a situation like that. But then we see Joe Brady, and Brian's like, how did you recognize that guy? And then Cosell's literally telling me, like, I just got his number. I'm just going to go talk to him. And we see a bunch of people from the Seahawks walking by. And we met people at the 49ers, and we met all kinds of different people. And that was just the start of the night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just going there and having had an opportunity to get to know Greg a little bit has been really, really cool. And then to have get up, shake his hand, and have him know, because I just had him on at the Super Bowl, and have him like he didn't necessarily have a place to go, and so I was like, yeah, let me buy you a beer, and he sits down, and we have Greg there. We have I text Sando, who I know is staying at the hotel, and he comes down, and a few other reporters come by, a few other like team personnel come by, and we spend 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours, whatever it was, talking football, talking prospects, talking advice, counsel, like all the wide ranging, right? And I think that's one of my favorite things about when you find people that have every reason to have a big head, to be egotistical, to think they're bigger than other people. And then you find people like that who are not, who are totally grounded. It's great. I just love that experience of finding like good quality people, and to learn from people like that are just, I mean, I have so much respect for Cosell, Sando, those kind of folks. It's just a freaking, it's a gift. It's a huge gift. So that was, I think you and I were both super energized by that.
Yeah, like everyone thinks the combine is just for the drills, or if I tell people I'm going to the combine, like, you're gonna go watch people work out. I've already gotten my money's worth. I've been here one day. And
yeah,
Brian got to see some of my weird memory in action again. Like the equivalent of Brady Henderson with the Giants came by to say hi to Greg. And I remember seeing him on NFL Live, and Dan Orlovsky was giving him a hard time over something. And I brought it up to him last night. He was crying. I was like, how do you remember that? But he agreed with me. He said all these people were texting him saying that Dan was being mean to him. He's like, I didn't notice when I was on air. And then I had all these texts from my friend, and he was cracking up that I remembered that. But I don't know.
No, it's so true. I recognize some folks, but it's not a strength. Jeff's just like, there's that person. There's that person. I'm like, man, you are a valuable wingman. I did not. I mean, I knew that already, but I didn't know that this was an additional benefit that you're going to be bringing to the table.
Well, I'm not Twitter copying. I'm actually reading a lot of information and watching stuff. And I think you've seen from my shows over the years, I clearly take in a lot of content. So my memory has helped me over the years.
Yeah. Well, so then, after that, we wanted to get some dinner. And the other, like one of the other hot places here is St. Elmo's Steakhouse. And I'll be totally honest. I went there last year. Dana was there, and we went with one of her friends, and I think there was someone else there as well. Anyway, it was a lovely meal. It was a cool experience. A little overrated for me. Like I would have been okay not going, but it is like a place that you will always run into NFL people. So you and I walk over there, and we sit at the bar. And we go to sit at the bar. There is literally 2 open seats, and they're not next to each other. And so I say that out loud. I'm like, oh, there's 2 seats, they're not next to each other. And the guy turns around and says, oh, I'm happy to move over, which was super nice. And we sit down, and who's the guy that moved over?
So the guy, I live in Toronto. The local radio station we get for the NFL is Buffalo, WGR. And literally the Bills team reporter, like the sideline reporter.
All right, hold on. Daniel Jeremiah, Brock, and Salk just want to say hi. I'm Brian. Nice to meet you. I will. Daniel Jeremiah, just the way things work here.
Lit up when you said Brock and Salk. I think that might be the only person at the combine. If you say Mike Salk will light up.
I'm gonna have to let those guys know after we're done. Sorry. So we sit down, and you're from Toronto, and this guy.
And literally the guy I hear on the radio all the time talking football, his name's Sal Capaccio, is right there. And it's just a small world. And he loved talking ball with us. But as I walk in, Steve Spagnuolo comes out the door.
Yeah.
And like this was just
Kansas City Chiefs defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I hope everyone knows who Steve Spagnuolo is.
Yeah.
I've watched any Super Bowl the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of a sudden we're sitting down with this Bills reporter. Might be the nicest guy I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, he does like sideline. He does he do play-by-play at all?
Does not do play-by-play. He's the sideline reporter during the games, and then he does a lot of hits on the radio station.
Sports radio stuff, yeah. Well, so I mean, we spent another 90 minutes or so there, and he's from Buffalo, my wife's from Buffalo. We just traded stories, and like a bunch of people were coming through. Like whatever, like it's so cool to feel how small the NFL world is when you're in Indianapolis. And you literally walk down a block, and there's Sam Monson, and then you see Robert Mays, and then you see whatever. And it's not like, oh, celebrity sighting. It is, oh man, I respect that person. Now I get a chance to talk to that person. And you hope that after you talk to the person, you still respect him, which isn't always the case.
No,
but most of the time it is. So yeah, I mean, I think what some people don't get about the combine, especially people that are jaded, maybe been here a long time, or maybe it's the opposite. I don't know. Either way, is it's not about like being seen or like, having some big show. It's an opportunity to learn. Like yes, everyone says it's networking, but networking for what purpose? It's like, if you get an opportunity to sit down with Daniel Jeremiah for 5 minutes, that isn't like, you couldn't pay for that. Like, I mean, you probably could, but like, it's super valuable, and you can pick up something from every single person pretty much you meet. You were sitting next to a security person yesterday. We talked to multiple security people. Security people have some of the craziest stories to tell of anybody.
Yeah, if you ever get to meet like a team security person, they're usually former cops or former police people, and they're also fixers. So if you want to meet, like when I covered the Blue Jays a little bit, the former guy was a cop, and there's a couple of Blue Jays that were not well liked, and they had stories of them getting kicked out of Drake's club for things like that. And obviously in the NFL, you probably have incredible stories. So yeah, I randomly sat beside, and Sal is just talking to this woman, and Brian's like, you should talk to her. She probably has incredible stories. So I ended up getting into a conversation with her for like an hour. And Brian said there aren't many celebrity sightings. I kind of referenced this at the beginning. I literally hitting Brian. I'm like, look behind you. And Terry Crews, the actor, is coming out of the restaurant, and there's this huge crowd around him, and everyone's taking pictures. And
That was wild. He's a legit.
He's a
legit.
I'm like, why is he in Indianapolis? He must do something with the NFL. But
yeah,
I'm a Brooklyn Nine-Nine guy. Like that was really cool.
I'm a White Chicks guy. He was so funny.
Longest Yard, he was great in.
Yeah.
But all kinds of things. Like Brian's right. Like it's really not like a bunch of people going around trying to get pictures or benefit themselves. Like Sal was sitting with us, and if you look behind our table with the bar, John Fox was sitting there. He has been in the league for a couple of years, but he's now working for the Bills in a senior management role on the coaching staff. And Sal goes up, shakes his hand, introduces himself, exchange pleasantries, and he comes and sit back down with us. But like the Seahawks beat John Fox in Super Bowl 48. Like he's sitting right behind us. And maybe we sound like name droppers or whatever, but this whole thing was so cool.
I hope it's not that, because I mean, I don't care about names. It's more just
Cheeseburger Eddie. Yeah.
I think it's just trying to paint the picture for people that can't be here about what the experience is like, and we'll do our best to pass along things that we've learned, not just who we've talked to, and share along the way. I don't know. Like I think I did with Nathan Ernst's help last year about 70 interviews, like videos, audio, all uploaded. We're not going to do anywhere near that much this time. That's not my goal. But I also won't be here as long as I was last year. But we will get some of that for sure. And in just a second, I want to turn the story over to start talking about where the Seahawks are and where we feel like the roster is and where we think it's going to affect their needs and the draft. And then we'll do a mock soon after that. Before we do that, just a quick reminder, folks, Sleepers release team picks. It's very cool. It's an opportunity to go in there, pick teams that you think are going to win. And in this case, we've got some golf stuff up there, so you can check golf out as well. Who you think's going to win the Masters? Who you think's going to win the Classic that's going on at Palm Beaches? So all this stuff's available over there on Sleeper. Make sure you download the Sleeper app if you haven't already. And it is a great time to go over to simplyseattle.com. We're still here somewhere. Maybe I'll just take that off. But use code HawkBlogger15 to get 15% off at simplyseattle.com. I was wearing my new favorite sweatshirt, the Mob Father, with Mike McDonald's silhouette on there back at the live show on Friday. You can get that. There's an awesome new throwback Seahawks hat with the Super Bowl logo on the side. So awesome stuff. Anyway, you can get all that stuff at simplyseattle.com. Use code HawkBlogger15. Also, I'm wearing my Doer jeans. Doer is amazing. They are so cozy, so comfortable. And if you go to Shop Doer, that's DUER, shopdoer.com/Hawk, you get 15% off your first order. They got amazing jeans. They're stretchy, but they don't look stretchy. They got Cool Max technology that actually keeps your temperature cool when it's too hot. And honestly, been keeping me warm when it's too cold around here. They've got great shirts. They got all sorts of great denim stuff and non-denim stuff. But make sure you check them out. Shopdoer, DUER.com/Hawk to get 15% off your first order. All right. So, Jeff, I haven't had a chance to talk to you. I know you've done some work on free agency. I've done some work on what I think the Seahawks' biggest needs are. What's your kind of, before we even get into the draft, what's your kind of state of the Seahawks?
So it's super weird that we're not going into this free agency period hyper worried or hyper focused on one position. It feels like we've been doing that for 10 years. And maybe it's just the roster they've built up. But look, they're going to have clear needs. The cornerback position has been something me and you have been talking about all year. And I've been saying this for almost 12 months now. But the long-term state of the edge position is concerning. And they're older. They're going to lose Boye Mafe. And we didn't know what kind of year we're going to get out of Lawrence. But we've been kind of circling that edge position for really 12 months out now. And the receiver position is obviously probably next one concern with Shaheed and Cup's age. And they're going to have to pay JSN. They're going to have to figure out, we don't know Torrey Horton's that long-term outcome. I'm sure we'll learn more today. But those positions have been jumping out for a while now. But it doesn't feel as desperate as it was felt last year with offensive line. And I feel like it's been offensive line every year. You've been studying the free agent list for offensive line. We did a show on naming 15 linemen. We didn't end up getting one of them last year.
Right.
So corner is a big need. But then I studied the free agent board a little bit, and their needs line up better in the draft than free agency. Free agency, there's going to be some unique opportunities at other positions, like potentially safety. The wide receiver group, I don't think you go in there if you don't get Shaheed. There's some other spots. Running back becomes a big question. I heard Ken Walker's a free agent. I heard Sando say on your live show the other day that doesn't think they're going to bring him back. So the draft is not good at running back. Free agency is much better there. That is a question everyone's asking us about what's going to happen at running back.
Well, let me ask you this way. If the Seahawks added nobody this offseason, nobody, they didn't re-sign anybody, where are they at like a red alert on the roster?
Cornerback is a deficient position.
Yeah.
If you lose Joe and Woolen with no replacements, we saw what happened with Pritchett had to play that one game, and obviously he got a lot better when he got more reps, but they don't have depth there. They don't have a starter there. Again, running back is completely deficient, especially with Charbonnet just having surgery this week. That's a big problem. You can't.
I don't know if I'd put running back at the same as corner.
Well, corner's 2-3 tiers above it.
Okay.
That is like red alert, like the offensive line was.
Yeah.
And then the edge position.
Yep. And one of the things you didn't name, which we should just take a moment and appreciate, you didn't say defensive tackle and you didn't say offensive line.
No, those are the trenches. And it's kind of funny. Like we've been spending, that's why I said we've been spending so much time hyper focused. They got to get better. But for this year, they have their 3 defensive tackles coming back. Williams, Reed, Murphy, they're all back. Long term, they're going to have to start adding there. Riley Mills is a bigger end, but probably listed more D tackle.
I think it's more D tackle.
Brandon Pilley is back.
Yep.
And then offensive line, really, unless you're just upgrading the right guard. I imagine they'd like to bring back Josh Jones, but they have internal swing tackles. So Josh Jones was super underrated, part of their Super Bowl run.
He was great.
I think if you're going to credit John, other than those big signs, I think a sign like that is a big difference from some of the moves he's made in the past. They beat the Rams where Josh Jones holds up against Jared Verse at the end of the game.
I mean, compare it to George Fant, who we all love.
Stone
but
Forsythe.
Yeah, I mean, some with a draft pick at least, but like they signed George Fant to come back. He couldn't hold up.
Played quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, you liked that signing a lot last year, but
yeah. So I mean, I want to get back to the line in a second, but I do think it's interesting. This is the first time I can remember in a long time that I would say the Seahawks are a contending team with 0 additions, even with the cornerback room the way it is. I think they're a contending. Now, do I think Nehemiah Pritchett is the next great corner? I don't know. Like, I've not been high on Nehemiah Pritchett. He did have that like fantastic pass breakup in the end zone one of the games he played. The team clearly believes in him, and the team deserves some, benefit of the doubt. They've been right a lot more lately than wrong. But I think given you still have Leonard Williams, still have Jaron Reed, you still have Byron Murphy, you still have the offensive line, you still have Sam Darnold, you still have J.S. Dane, you still have all these other folks. So I think that the team is still a contending team, even with no additions. And then it gets down to a question of, all right, so where do you need to add to be most confident and also to deal with attrition? Because no one stays 100% healthy at any position. And corner seems like the big one. And I still think the team's going to sign Job, but you're going to try to sign Job. I don't know if they're going to be able to. And if they don't sign Josh Job, do they really go into the draft without adding anybody and like being beholden to the draft to find a corner who could be a starter? Like that feels like I feels like they might need to sign one free agent corner.
Yeah, that's my thought. And John's wanted to get away from just going into drafts, desperately needing to draft one spot because that's where they've made their mistakes.
Right.
And essentially they did it last year. And if Zabel didn't work out, the whole season might look different. Because they didn't sign a left guard in free agency. That spot was empty. And they obviously liked a lot in the draft. And corners a spot, I imagine, just from studying the draft, the depth is pretty good. But I can't imagine them going into free agency not touching the cornerback position. You need bodies there. You saw what happened in that Tampa game when they start to lose guys, and they having that depth was huge. But if those guys become your starters, and then who's that next level? They got a lot of cap room.
I think it's going to depend on what Job's market is. If he gets bid up over $15 million a year, then I think it becomes a lot less likely. If they can get him for $12 million, I really think the organization likes him. I think he likes the organization. So that's the one to me that I got my eye on. I don't think Kobe Bryant's coming back.
I don't either.
And so safety's a little bit of like Ty Okada can step in and be a starter. I don't have a problem with that. But after that, like Julian Love, like you could say Nicky Minori, but Nicky Minori really hasn't played deep safety for the Seahawks. And that's another position to me. I think I'd be more okay going because I think you have really solid starting options there and some guys that might be able to slide in. But I think I'd be okay going to the draft, just knowing you need a safety. It's a good safety class.
Yeah. So my brief research on the draft, I really liked a couple of the safeties. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's their first pick. Either at 32 or they move down. There are a lot of options there that kind of fit the value. It fits the need. And it's not a need per se, but you might be just taking the best player at that point. And that's what they've liked to do. And even free agency, safety is one of the strengths of this free agent class where if someone falls through, there are some interesting players out there. And we'll probably spend another show on this, but I found the safety position, the running back position, and the off-ball linebacker was the strength of this free agent class. So there might be options because Kobe, just reading the list, he's top 40 on Greg Rosenthal's list. I heard what Brady Henderson said on your show on Friday. And just the way it works is when the team wins the Super Bowl, everyone wants a piece of them. I think Kobe's going to do really well in free agency. And if they were double apart in September or August, it's going to be worse now. So
yeah,
I think we should all expect Kobe's going to get a good deal somewhere else. A lot of teams have money. The cap just went up. I can't imagine he's going to be back.
So then, I mean, we talked about running back a little bit. I think they're going to sign a free agent running back. I mean, that to me, of all the positions, I would say corner and running back are the free agent priorities. You got to get one of each, I think, out of free agency.
I think running back is a massive need in free agency because it's not a good draft class. They don't have a 4th and 5th rounder right now.
Right.
Which means if you don't sign one, you got to pick a day 3 or day 2 guy because they're not picking 4 or 5. I assume they'll move down and get those picks back, but free agent running back list is pretty good. I might be alone on this. I think they're going to sign Walker.
I don't think it's out of the realm.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like them to, and I don't say that very often about free agent running backs. But I think he and Breece Hall are in a tier by themselves of the free agent backs. And then, I mean, I like Algier, and I like some of the free agent names. Rico Dowdle had his moments last year. I think that's a huge difference than Ken Walker. And one thing I will, I would disagree with Mike Sando and Brady, who said this on the Friday show, that they were like, I remember the zone backs back in the, Denver, the Broncos days where you could stick in Olandis Gary or, whoever, and they get 1,500 yards. That's not the case anymore. I don't see teams doing that in the same way. I do believe running backs aren't as valuable as they used to be, but there is an absolute huge difference between a Ken Walker offense and a Rico Dowdle offense.
And look, with Mike Shanahan's bloodlines just have the highest paid running back in the league. And look what they've done with Christian McCaffrey and how much he's been a part of them. And
that's a great example. Think about.
Well, Brian Fleury's coming from there where they've had this back. He's been the run game coordinator. And we've seen the difference when he's healthy and when he's playing well. He got a bunch of MVP votes this year, which I thought was a bit preposterous, but not say it too loud. There's probably some voters in the room. But look, that Mike Shanahan just put any running back in there. That's kind of gone away. We've seen what McCaffrey in the passing game and what they've done to unlock that offense. See Brian Fleury and all the guys who've been around those guys. The Rams who've come from the same thing just paid Kyron Williams $11 million APY a year. And I think that's a pretty good baseline. And no one bagged on them for that contract. I looked, his cap hit's $12 million this coming year. And the Rams are one of the smarter, well-run teams. And I think that's very logical. I don't think Walker's market's going to get out of control, right? I think they can get him to a deal like Kyron Williams.
I hope so. I would rest a little easier. And the reality is, Jeff, you could sign Ken Walker and then he gets hurt and you're like, man, that's a lot of money that we still are in the same spot. Like it's definitely possible. So I understand that there's that risk, but I still think it's the right move given if this was a draft where there was just overwhelming running back talent, I'd say, you know what, pick a number, stick with it. If you don't get it, fine. That's not where they're at. I think the single worst move they could make this offseason is not signing a free agent running back and going into this draft needing a starting quality run. That would be the single most indefensible move from my perspective. And so I don't think they're going to do that. I think they will add to that running back class. We don't know if Zach Charbonnet is going to play next year. And ACL recoveries are a lot faster than they used to be. It was a late ACL. Like, we don't know what we're going to get. And when he does come back, we don't know what he's going to look like. So I think you got to basically look at your running back room. Like, it's George Halani and Jacardier Wright and, maybe Kenny McIntosh if he can be healthy. Like, that's your running back room.
And McIntosh is coming off a serious injury too.
Right. The second one.
And so, I don't think you can go in there. I think the biggest mistakes the Seahawks have made over this 14, 15-year run is when they've done things like this. And when they haven't been prepared and they've overdrafted guys. And John's admitted that's been their biggest mistake, hyper-focusing on need. So to do that in a draft that's thin and you don't have picks already, that becomes a scary situation.
Yeah. So then a couple other quick things, and we'll do a mock. So the Rashid Shaheed thing, I guess I've kind of just, to some extent, come to grips with the fact that maybe he's just not going to come back. But it is not Schneider's MO to trade midseason, reasonable draft capital, and then not try to re-sign a guy. Like, every guy he's done that with, he's pretty much tried to re-sign and generally has re-signed. What's your current take on what's going to happen there?
I think it just really depends on where his market goes to. And he feels kind of like a luxury addition to this team because of what he can do. He's not like a core player, but what he can do is they need another receiver. They need a kick returner. But I think with him, it just really comes down to the valuation. I think he's in a bucket along with Job, along with Walker, where it just comes down to, it's not like must-sign guys like I think Lucas and Cross were internally. I think with these guys, it just comes down to their valuation. You're right, like Leonard Williams, some of the other guys, Ernest Jones, they've traded for where they were core guys. I don't know if Shaheed's quite in that bucket.
Yeah.
But I think he'd be the next tier below.
Yeah.
And look, the Raiders with Kubiak, they have $100 million of cap room.
Yeah.
Does Shaheed want to go back to a team that might not win again? Who knows? It's hard to say. We don't know what it is. He's valuing money. Is he valuing winning? I think the Seahawks want to sign him. I think they need him, especially with Cooper Kupp's age. But that's a lot of money to put out between 17 cap hit for, they're going to have to pay JSN probably over $40 million a year. And then to pay Shaheed, what, over 15?
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Yeah, the reason I can't quite get there is like, hey, you got to re-sign this guy, is it is a different situation where I do think there's a decent receiver class.
Yeah.
In the draft.
That's good.
And I do think you've got a Torrey Horton and a Cooper Kupp and a JSN, and you've got a Jake Bobo, and you've got Ricky White, and you've got Tyron Broden. You've got some guys coming. Like, there is a serviceable, if not like good receiver room available to you even without Rashid Shaheed. And then if you add a rookie to that, I think you're okay. And I think there's some decent options there.
Well, the hard truth is, this might be a knock on them. They didn't get a lot out of him as a receiver.
They didn't. Yeah.
And that's not a knock on Shaheed or them, but it always felt like it was kind of missing. And the Atlanta game me and you covered live, he was really good. You saw what he did for other receivers in the run game and the speed they have. And remember when you first saw the team, you're like, these guys might be really slow. And so his speed and his ability to open up the run game, I think, was an underrated part of him. But like purely out of his receiving prowess, what do you have, 13 catches or something? It's not a ton.
No, but his impact on the run game was huge.
Oh, no. And the impact on special teams goes without saying. Like, he won that Rams game. Like, he may have won the Super Bowl for them, arguably. But again, you said it so well. You knocked out all the things that they have receivers. They have areas elsewhere. It feels like a luxury.
It does. That's exactly what it feels like. So last thing I have for you before we get to the mock draft. So, I admit I saw on Twitter someone post like, why does Brian defend Anthony Bradford so much?
I thought you might wear his jersey today.
I'm like, I will forever try to be as clear as possible on this, that I am for having the best possible offensive line you can. I am. And if you can upgrade right guard, do it. Like 100% do it. Like zero hesitation, no equivocation. What I've always tried to say there, and I'm going to get to the question for you, is what my eyes told me in camp last year is he was the best right guard on this team. And the team thought the same thing. He did not start OTAs as the starting right guard. Christian Haynes did. Christian Haynes was not the best guard for this team. And so people that are like, let's upgrade the right guard. I think what's so frustrating to me about that conversation, Jeff, is I think it demonstrates a complete lack of understanding of how bad the guard position is in the NFL. Every single team in the NFL wants to upgrade the guard position because almost no team in the NFL has 2 starting quality guards. It's just that's the state of things. And so when you say upgrade, what does that mean? Because last year in free agency, it would have been like signing Will Fries for $88 million. Will Fries was a worse guard last year than Anthony Bradford by almost any metric. Mekhi Becton, we talked about him like, oh, this guy, like this, he's big, like that'd be great. He was a wash, and he was like $17 million, whatever he cost.
Well, he was a bust.
He was a total bust. And so people are like, just do it. I'm like, it's not that simple. And the other thing is Anthony Bradford's 24, 25. He is still maturing as a prospect, and he did improve this year. People forget he had a huge penalty problem. He didn't have a penalty problem this year. That by itself was a big step forward. And so I see Anthony Bradford clearly. I do. Do I like him as a person? I do. Do I root for him? Absolutely. But if there's like a Bryce Cable shows up as like a better player next year, I'll have no problem being like Bryce Cable should be the starter. So I say all that with how important do you think it is that they look for a right guard upgrade?
I don't think it's that important. We mentioned all the needs they have: edge, corner, running back, receiver. Then it goes down lower on the list. Again, I'd love to find an ideal player. Look, Bradford's a flawed player. We all know what his issues are. Sorry.
That's all right.
But there's just too many things you have to do where you can't be hyper-focusing on these other upgrades. And it's crazy to say. I mean, you've spent 10 years, it feels like, trying to find guards. And look, like the Bills who've developed really well, and all of a sudden they need 2 guards. They have guys hitting free agency, and they're constantly looking for these guys. They're going to have to pay Zabel in a couple of years. And when Bradford's rookie contract comes out, they're probably going to let him walk. But for now, to have a guy who's in your system for the second year, they're going to work with John Benton the whole offseason, I think that's a huge deal for them right now. And they do have some internal options like Cable and other guys in the building. But I don't think they're going out like if someone's market in free agency falls through and they can get a guard at a cheap price, go ahead. Or if the draft falls in. But it's crazy to say it is low on their list of needs.
Well, that's going to show up when we do this mock in a second because they're going to have choices to make. They don't have a lot of picks, and you're going to have to make some decisions. And if you come up with your second round pick and you can pick a guard or you can pick a receiver, I really think that it would be, I don't know if it mistakes it's too strong to say mistake. It would be a questionable move to prioritize guard over receiver. It would be a questionable move to prioritize guard over edge. Now, if this was a super strong class, it's an okay interior line. I think it's a crap tackle class, but
it's really bad.
I think the interior offensive line's okay. I just question whether or not, like, is that the most impactful move you can make where the delta between where you are and where you will be is the greatest. And I'm having trouble, Jeff. I've honestly, when I've done the mocks, I have trouble even looking at the guards. Like it's just, it doesn't feel like that's the biggest step forward.
Yeah. Like I would love to find an upgrade, but they just won a Super Bowl with this offensive line.
Yeah.
It wasn't like having Anthony Bradford out
and
here.
Anthony Bradford played poorly in that Super Bowl.
Milton Williams ran through him.
He did.
And Darnold did some incredible stuff that doesn't get talked about. But look, he's not the best right guard in the league. I don't even know if he's average. But again, the line collectively, you're bringing everyone else back. He's good enough he won all these games for you. He played every game last year.
Yeah.
So again, you have some deficiencies right now on the roster. Again, if you're just trying to upgrade, find a slightly better right guard, I don't even know if he's going to beat out Anthony Bradford. We saw what happened with Christian Haynes.
Yep.
That was probably the pick I've been the most wrong on in the last 10 years with you. And so it's going to be really fascinating, but I don't think it's going to happen. And people sitting there hoping for it, probably going to be disappointed. We've spent a lot of time going through free agent lists, and they haven't signed any of them.
Yeah.
Maybe Kevin Zeitler finally comes to Seattle. I feel like we're all going to rip, or we're already out of our hair, but I don't think I'm counting on a free agent right guard signing this year.
All right. I lied. One last question before we do the mock. Everyone's like they're going to trade back from 32 and get more picks. Are they just going to trade for Max Crosby and not have any first round pick? Like, can you imagine them going to only having 3 picks this year, like they did, like in 2000, was it 21 or something like that?
Yeah, me and Brian are covering the combine this week, and it's possible the Seahawks have no draft.
It has crossed my mind. It has taken a little motivation out of,
which is why I've studied free agency a lot.
Yeah,
but look, if they get Max Crosby, that takes away your 1 and probably your 1 next year, or 1 and a. So if they get away 1, then
I think, then
it has to be 2 1s. So Parsons got. And so all of a sudden you have a 2, a 3, and a 6 or a 7, and that's it. It's 2021, which busted entirely. But look, this is widely known as not a great draft class. I still think because of the other needs, they're going to need but they have a high amount of players signed that went on over the cap. They got over 55 players signed. They're going to get a rookie class of undrafted guys, which they've done really well on. I think if they can get Crosby, who from all indications they were in there last year, and they joked around on the plane that you were on last year on that trade. They clearly like this guy, but I think it's going to be hard to acquire Crosby. I think now that it's out there, a lot of people are going to want to try to get him, and Seattle has the 32nd pick to offer.
Yeah, I get it. Something, I don't know why I believe it. I believe that the Seahawks are the right team to acquire him. I think for some reason I have this belief that they're going to end up with him. Doesn't mean that that's going to happen, and I generally don't have those feelings about these kinds of moves. They've really wanted him. They're in this window where, like, getting him, I think, would be, if you could pick one move to make their odds of winning another Super Bowl highest, that's probably the move. Like, it's probably higher than any other move that they could make.
Yeah, we've talked about it all year, and in the Super Bowl, it obviously was incredible, but they were playing a deficient line. But look at the game before. They couldn't get anywhere near the Rams. We saw what Stafford did. They have incredible defensive tackles. Their edge group is good. But we've been saying almost for a couple of years now, like, they need that game-breaking edge. And what that does, and the coolest thing about Crosby is he's not just like a flashy guy trying to get paid. He plays with the most insane effort. He was a 4th-round pick. He plays and he works so hard to the point where people are worried about maybe his body's not going to hold up.
Yeah.
But what he can do for a defense, and we saw it years ago, the Seahawks played them. They lost to that team with that deficient. Abe Lucas couldn't come close to blocking him, and he just took over the game. And this wasn't a shot. He does this to a lot of people. But again, think of those Rams games where the pass rush couldn't get near this guy. They're losing Boye, who on the spreadsheets is a really efficient pass rusher. Maybe not on the sacks, but these guys are getting a year older. Derek Hall's a really good power player, but he's not a pure edge rush. For years, Brian, especially during this year, they're a little lacking in the edge.
Yeah.
And to get an all-pro level guy, if you have the 32nd pick and something else, that how can you get more impactful than that?
The reasons I feel this way: 1, they've already shown they're interested. 2, it's a need that I know that they see. 3, they don't need him to be healthy and top of his game for 4 years. If they get 2 years of top level play for him, that's worth it, because it could be 2 more Super Bowls.
It fits the window, yeah.
Right. And they're going to be drafting at the back of the first round. Like, everything to me kind of lines up. Now, whether or not the Raiders get a better offer, whether or not, like, all that stuff aside, it makes perfect sense to me from a roster construction, a prioritization standpoint, to go after him. And so I don't know if it's going to happen, but it would shock me if the Seahawks aren't central to that conversation.
Yeah, and I imagine if you want to get Crosby involved, he saw what the Seahawks defense did, and playing with Mike McDonald. He hasn't really played in a lot of good defenses, but the idea of playing in that defense with those, like him with Murphy and Williams, like, he's got to be jumping off.
Oh yeah, and let's not forget that what has John Schneider done in past years when he thinks the team is in contention? He trades for Percy Harvin. He has done this. He trades for Jimmy Graham, whether or not that was the right thing to do or not. He's made a trade for Leonard Williams when he thought that, like, he historically, when he believes the team is there, will make a big move like this. So it's not like he doesn't have this in his history. So let's do a mock. Since I've been teasing it for so long.
Yeah, just because we talked about them not having picks.
I know. I've basically taken all the air out of doing this. We're going to do a 3-round mock. All right. In a 3-round mock, and you and I haven't done this yet together this year. This feels very important. This is great to do. So before we get here, is there a player that you were hoping would be available here at 32? Like, have you done enough work where there's like maybe a position group, if not a player?
It's not the position group you might think, but there's a safety from Oregon named Dylan, I think Thieneman.
Yes.
When I started diving into the draft pretty recently, he really appealed to me. He kind of reminds me of Eric Weddle back in the day, who him and Mike had this kind of love fest going on. And Mike even said he's one of the smart. He compared, I can't remember who it was, one of the smartest minds he's ever seen since Eric Weddle. And Eric Weddle got all excited. Kind of reminds me of Eric Weddle. And then I'm like, okay, I've discovered this guy. He's like 38 on PFF. And Daniel Jeremiah freaking puts out a mock, and he's going like 22nd overall. My heart just sunk.
Yeah.
And so he's the guy I think it might be a bit of a luxury, but I think a guy like that in this defense with Julian Love and the smarts he has and the intelligence and the tackling, he was at Purdue before. I think he would be a really good use of a first-round pick.
That's an interesting one. I definitely looked at him a little bit as well. Ironically, as we were talking about Max Crosby trade, John Spytek just walked by to do the Raiders hit. So he's sitting over at the Raiders.
He's staring us down right now. No, not actually.
He's pointing up. He's like, more offers.
We'll give you Anthony Bradford.
So that's an interesting one. There's this guy, Akeem Mesidor,
who's Canadian.
Well, I didn't know that.
Might be a knock on him.
He's been getting some talk. People don't like that he's 25. But again, I'm going to use this as an example of when I'm going through and filtering out players. I see 6'3", 280. He's not a fit.
No.
He's not a fit
for what Mike Draymond Jones.
Right. Like, that's not the size player. So there's going to be players that, like, people are like, hey, Brian, you got to talk about this guy. And I'm like, I look at, like, no, that's not a fit for Mike McDonald.
Well, one of the most amazing things we learned, and I think John Boyle did a really good job highlighting, is that we talked about this, the alignment of the team has really gone better. And it'd be a great thing to ask these guys later today. But when they went to the Senior Bowl last year, the story Boyle wrote was that McDonald got with all the scouts and the front office people and went position by position, and they were blown away from what we had heard. Boyle did. If you want to read that article, it's fantastic.
It's a really good article.
And so I think they're really just hyper-focused. And me and you and Draymond Jones, we were like, they're going to trade him or cut him, and they didn't, and it ended up being kind of a wasted season. And they bring in DeMarcus Lawrence, who fit his specs perfectly, and look what happened. I actually put out a tweet that I compared him to Clowney when he was with Baltimore, and he had that kind of year. Maybe not the sacks, but same kind of impact. And so, yeah, I looked at Mesidor the other day, and I saw he's Canadian, but I saw he's overaged. I'm like, cross this guy off the list, most likely.
So, other names here. Like, I've also been having a hard time looking at defensive tackles. Like, there's actually some pretty good nose tackles in this class, and I still, I like Brandon Peely. Obviously, you lose Quentin Bohanna to the Packers. I don't think that was a huge loss. Byron's been playing a lot of Byron Murphy plays a lot of nose tackle. That was a position I keep, in the last few years saying that they should add to that. They haven't, and it seems like the strategy for John. Like, I just don't know that he values run stuffing 330-pound nose tackles in, like, really the first 5 rounds. I'm not sure he sees it.
No, even the last couple of drafts, we were really hyper-focused on that spot. And they had to sign Jonathan Hankins and things like that. But they had lots of chances to draft guys last year. There was like Cam Jackson went to Carolina, who went, like, me and you were doing these day 3 shows. But they have not valued it. They've had lots of chances to get in there. And it just seems like a spot he feels that they can fill through the Brandon Peelys of the world. And to be fair, they won the Super Bowl with that guy. So, yeah, I can't see that being like a first-round pick or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, one of the guys, I think he's gone. Let me just make sure. Oh, so Lee Hunter is a good example here, where this guy actually, I think, has got some pass rush to him as well.
Yeah.
And he is 6'4", 330. He is, like, every advanced metric I've looked at in terms of, actually, I think I've got this bookmark. I'll bring this up for you guys. Hold on. Yeah, here it is. So I'll share this tab. So this is a really nice thing. Football Insights puts this out. It's one of the things I like to look at for rushers in general. But this shows all the defensive tackle prospects, and then it shows where they align. So if you see a gap, that means that they're playing nose tackle primarily, which is good to know. Excuse me, sorry guys. And then you've got run defense metrics, so run stop win rate, missed tackle rate, which I care less about the missed tackle rate, run stop win rate, and then pass rush. You've got pass rush win rate and pressure rate. Keep in mind, Byron Murphy was like a 18% pressure rate. Like he had one of the highest pressure rates of defensive tackles, in years. There's nobody over 11.7% pressure rate from the defense. Like this is not a pass rushing defensive tackle group. And if you look at the run stop rate, you get McDonald here from Ohio State at 12%. But Woods, to me, he's the most interesting because he's got a little bit of both. McDonald goes from 12% win rate on run to 3.8%. Like he's no pass rush.
No, he's not a pass rusher at all.
So this is kind of how I filter down some of these defensive guys. And I just don't know that there's a guy that I can make the case. I will always make the case for getting better in the trenches.
Yeah.
I don't know if Woods is there, maybe, but I just feel like at some point that's just not going to be the most additive thing.
Yeah, Woods is a very boomer bust kind of prospect. He's got crazy potential. He didn't quite hit the ceiling this year, and it's one of those chasing upside positions. But really, the only time I could think about when Schneider's done that was Malik McDowell. And look, there's personality reasons why that pick didn't work out. But I imagine he's probably a little scared of a pick like that. But yeah, I was looking at defensive tackles, and the Ohio State guy, McDonald, would typically interest me in a draft. But I think based on what the board looks like and how they've drafted historically, I'd be surprised. But I think, like when I was reading Albert Breer this morning and things of that nature, he's been a guy that's kind of that fringe first rounder. Some people think we'll go at the end of the first, early second. Based on their historical trends, I don't expect that to be the way they go.
All right, one more guy that I want to ask you about here. So Kenyon Sadiq is I wouldn't quite call it the Brock Bowers category, certainly.
No.
But he's a guy that for me, I look at, and he stands out from this whole class as someone who I think has star potential. And he runs routes like a receiver. I think tight end is a really strong room for the Seahawks. I got to say, if Kenyon Sadiq is there, I would be in favor of taking him. Even though you've got a really strong tight end room, I think he's got the potential to be one of the best tight ends in football.
Yeah, like he's a souped up version of Elijah Arroyo who doesn't have an injury history. I would be shocked if he's at 32.
Yeah,
and I've heard some people concerned about his size, and Kyle Pitts thing's gone pretty wonky relative to where they drafted him. But the Eagles have Dallas Goedert in free agency. They love players like that. Even the 49ers, we were wondering yesterday with George Kittle's age and new tight end coach and things of that nature, like I can't see him last. In the draft, there are just not a lot of guys with like star potential. He's not, I would closer pass catchers in this draft.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like Armand Membu when round in these simulators, and then he goes probably be a top half of the first round player. But he is a guy, like, not only do I like him, I really hope he does not go to the 49ers or the Rams. Like,
yeah,
that's probably my big.
But this a lot because we still got hyper. The Rams were this close to Brock Bowers. Tried making those trade up for Byron Murphy that we all got a kick out of.
Well, anyone else you want to look at?
Like, there's a couple corners that interest me. Colton Hood's a really interesting guy. Yeah. He is just a solid prospect. He's right in the range. Keith Abney's a guy who's got crazy athleticism. There's some fun. I like safety.
What do you think about Derek Moore? Edge player from Michigan. He's 6'3", 260. Let's watch a little film of him. I haven't watched enough Derek Moore. Do you have any Derek Moore takes?
I haven't quite seen him as a first-round player very often. I know you're at 32. He strikes me as the second-round edge, which has kind of been the area of the draft that they've been going after, like the Mapes and the Halls. And I don't know if I'd see him as a first-round kind of player, but look, I know a lot of these guys. I like the defensive backs better personally.
Yeah, watching some of this stuff here from him. I wish I could show this to you guys. I mean, I'm not seeing a first-round athlete.
No, he looks like a low-end all.
He's definitely a power player, but
he's run straight ahead.
I like Zion Young's tools a lot better. I know he's got the DWI. You don't have to remind me, folks. I'm aware. But I'm just looking at the football player. He seems like second, third round.
Those are like the Seahawks have done well with second round edges, depending on how you view Boyd Mafe, and you'll see the league likes him a lot better than a lot of Seahawks fans do. Historically, that's a success area that's very low. It's kind of like second round quarterback. For edges, you're either getting guys in the first round because of their tools, or guys who last into day 3 because of their flaws. And day 2 pass rushers has not been historically a great spot. That's usually, if you're an edge rusher getting drafted in day 2, it's a pretty big tell. And it doesn't look like he has a ton of moves there. I think he's more of an edge setter.
Yeah. I mean, I don't watch more. Like, I didn't love this. Like, there's not the speed to power stuff that got me particularly excited.
No, and you can see PFF have him at 60. That's a bottom of the second rounder. That's very telling.
Yeah. All right. So, where do you want to go?
EMW is very tempting too. The Toledo safety.
Yeah, he is.
But like him and Neiman Worry are kind of similar.
They are.
I don't know if that makes sense. I kind of like the Oregon safety, man.
All right, let's do it. This is your draft.
Kobe Bryant's probably gone. Now
draft.
With him and Okada, you can get really interesting in what you do.
All right. So one of the things we'll have to do this week is that whole off-season simulator that's now out there.
Yeah, that thing's pretty
free
cool.
Agency as well. All right. So now we're at second round pick. By the way, everyone's like they're going to trade back from the first. I don't think that that's a valuable pick. I don't know how much you can get trading from.
Well, especially there's no quarterback this year, where that was usually what prompts up those trades. Like Ty Simpson's probably gone by then.
Yeah, I just don't see it. So, all right, second round. We've already got a safety. Orange. I saw someone today say like they going to look at linebacker. The linebacker room's not good. I'm like,
huh?
Did you not pay attention last year?
Drake Thomas is an RFA. He'll be re-signed.
Patrick O'Connell was good. Tyrese Knight's good. Like,
yeah, they're probably 4 deep there.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's a position.
Oh, the big citrus.
So wide receiver is interesting. We did not take an edge yet. So we look at some of the. There's Jonah Coleman, running back. It looks like Jadarian Price is already off the board.
Some people love this Jennings Dunker as a guard potential.
Oh, yeah. Let's take a look at Jennings Dunker.
He is going to rip up a lot of the offseason combine stuff.
6'5", 315, has the look everybody likes.
He's got the look. Like we said last year, you need an offensive lineman with the look.
Yeah, he's got the look.
You can sell me on this pick pretty easily.
I mean, I don't hate it.
He can be our right guard.
Yeah, I feel a little bit like this is somewhat of a product of social media.
Oh, yeah. He's a fan favorite.
But he does have a really nice zone blocking grade, 86.6. He looks like a power player, but he does seem like a guard at the
He's
next
a guard.
level.
He's not a tackle at the next level.
Although it is worth noting that he has not played a single snap at anything but right tackle in his college career. So it is a conversion. So you could go that direction. I like Malachi Fields is an interesting.
He is tempting. He's a big dude, man.
6'4", high point guy. I don't know. Like if you look at like the Kyle Shanahan offense, it's not like you have a lot of these true X receivers. They play a lot of these condensed splits where they're not wide out. So I'm not sure that the X has as big of a role to play.
Yeah. In other offenses, like if Ryan Grubb was still here, like this guy would be a really interesting prospect.
Right.
But like they had Julio Jones in Atlanta. That was probably the best version of that. But Julio Jones is one of those receivers that can do everything. Historically, it's the guys who can play in the middle of the field that are sort of the best. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would be hated. But
Brett Coleman.
All right. So where do you want to go? Where do you want to go here?
Is there any other corners that are out there?
Oh, I do like Danny Dennis Sutton. Have you watched him at all?
I have not watched him yet.
All right, let me show you a little Danny Dennis Sutton. I liked what I saw from him. He's definitely got a lot of juice. He's really an intense dude.
Why did they start the highlight video? It's not good content. You guys can't see.
I have to show it Jeff a little bit of. Okay. Here we go. You can already see like it's a much more stud, like much more dynamic athlete than
yeah, he fits Mafe. It's replacement a little better.
Yeah.
He needs a speed rush. quick rush. That's the thing they really do. Don't let it go.
Good.
Energy. What the flaws? Why is he going?
Let me get. This is, I think, the one that I've watched before. Did you see that move?
Yeah, like that. That's a highlight he wants to highlight.
I mean, his first step was very quick. He's able to up in 4 point stance there.
He's not the explosion too.
Yeah.
I'm curious why he's greater than 90.
Yeah. So I like that guy. And I think he also fits the size 6'5", 265.
Yeah, 22 years old.
I like him.
You could sell me on him for sure.
All right, so we've got him. We've got Dunker. Devin Moore at corner is an interesting guy. I don't know if you've seen any of his stuff, but I like.
Is there any other corners? What's the corner list look like? It seemed like we kind of got cleaned out there.
Yeah, we also haven't looked at wide receiver. Let's look at cornerback and wide receiver.
Yeah, because I heard DJ say it, and I've heard some of those say there's a ton of day 2 corners. But it seems like by 64, you get cleaned out pretty good.
Surratt.
The second Surratt on the roster.
Yeah, so I haven't watched as much Surratt. I know that he's kind of a high point guy as well.
He played with Mendoza.
Yeah, let's take a look here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a weird highlight. The slowest
out route.
Yeah, that he barely got open.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah, it's tough to see because we're looking at these highlights for you guys can't see, and they're showing him win these out routes that are like pure college throws of the wide side of the field.
I see corner and I see 5'10", 185, and I'm like, not interested.
No, that's probably more slot guy.
I don't think that's what they're looking for. Dalen Everett. I haven't looked at this guy yet. 6'1", 190.
There's a lot of guys in that size range. When I was putting together my little Google sheet, a lot of 6'1", 190. There's like a lot of that prototype. And so if they're looking for like another Woolen, probably gonna take that guy earlier.
Well, I'm curious about Everett because he fits.
Yeah, I think it's more professional football. And it's the type of thing you can't really learn about it. That's what, yeah, I think the way McDonald wants to is you see the guys who's best. No disrespect to Woolen, but I don't think football is probably with some strength, size, speed, coverage ability. I like that. A lot of off coverage, not like the size. If he can tackle, yeah, that wasn't the best. He got up. Look at it. Okay, useful.
Like he's an interesting fit.
Like if you're going double DB, it's a little weird, but it probably is the biggest area of their team.
Yeah,
well, they need depth.
So anyone else that was jumping out? I think those are a couple of guys.
Yeah, because you're into the 140s now.
Let's pick from some of the guys we've talked about. Who jumps out to you? You've got Everett Moore at corner. You've got Fields Brazil at wide receiver. You've got Dunker at guard.
Dunker would be tempting, but I feel like it's a bit of a reach.
What do you want to do? Your call.
Let's take Everett.
All right, we're taking Everett.
I'm very into the idea of updating the secondary.
All right, last pick. So you've got safety and you've got corner. I feel like edge is pretty important here.
Yeah, I feel like edge would be important. Receiver would be important.
Opportunity. Any guys that you already know that
running back potentially.
Brennan
Thompson's a really fast guy. He's supposed to light up the 40 this week. But
he's a smaller dude. Yeah.
That's Tank Dellish. That's not what they need.
So
this is where this draft becomes a tricky one because if you don't get those corners early, they get wiped out. Receivers seem to get wiped out.
Mikhail Kamara. Let's take a look at Mikhail Kamara.
You get why they traded their 4th and 5th away because it seems to get cleared out pretty quick.
All right. Is there even any highlights of this guy?
Like he was Roger.
Oh, he's a cool fit.
Yeah.
He's bigger than 262.
Yeah, looks more like Derek Hall's.
He looks thicker than Derek. He
Yeah.
looks a little bit like.
He's got a good first step.
Like a third round pick.
He looks like a third round kind of prospect.
All right. Let's take him.
Let's take him. Yeah.
Take him.
We need edge.
All right. So a defensive draft, which is where a lot of my drafts keep coming this way. They don't love Dylan. I don't care about their grades.
Well, we had Feineman going like top 24 DJ's mock. So
I like Everett was an interesting name. A good one.
That's our best grade, oddly enough.
Yeah. I don't care about their grades. All right. So with all that, what are the positions you're trying to learn this week? And then we'll wrap up here.
Edge. I need to get more comfortable with the edge group. Figure out where the sweet spots are. Corner, I need to figure out those day 2 guys. Because that was a spot where a lot of mock drafts, I bet you every mock draft you read is going to have them taking a corner. Especially if free agency goes away from them. That's a spot where I need to learn the difference between the players at 32 and 64.
Yeah.
Because by the time you get to the end of 3, you're basically talking about a 4th rounder.
Yes.
And there's a huge difference in quality from the beginning of 3 and the end of 3.
Yep.
Historically, we've learned that. And so when we got to this mock and if we didn't take a corner there's basically no one left. You're at a day 2 at that point.
Yeah.
So we need to learn where those gaps are at edge and corner. And then receiver. Is there receivers at the end of round 3? That's historically a spot you can find a receiver. Can you wait for that spot? Because edge, corner, safety, I think that's where we need to learn the gaps. Because I like the safeties at the top, but it leaves you a little short at other spots.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the best strategic move. I think once we start doing more of these, I think we're going to stop taking safeties early because it might leave you too short-handed.
Makes sense. All right, folks. I think we got a couple super chats. Let's get to these, and then we'll jet. Calvin Stingler says, just saw your book at a convenience store in Salem, Oregon. Had to buy. Haha, thanks for all you do. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for doing that. Matt in Beaverton says, Brian and Jeff, will you guys give your thoughts on what you think John's draft strategy will be this year? Just your hunches, thinking about the pass rut he went on after 2015. I think we kind of covered that sufficiently. If we haven't, let me know, but I think we did talk a decent amount about that. Simon Steiner, member for 2 months, says Jadarian Price could be a great pick. Agreed, but the thing is, that's one guy. And I don't know that there's more than – I mean, you're not going to get the top pick in this draft, the top running back in this draft. He's going to be gone. And you have one guy that is a starting quality back. I think that's a really, really bad draft strategy.
Yeah, you can't go into the draft and say we need Jadarian Price because what happens if you don't get him?
Right.
Then your whole draft strategy is messed up.
Yes.
Then your running back position is it's a wash.
Yeah.
I think you have to go in thinking that it would be a luxury, especially when you're drafting at 32 and 64.
Right.
You cannot hyper focus on players like that, especially at thin positions.
That's to get to the draft strategy question from Matt before. That is where John Schneider's had problems, is that he's like, oh, it's a really thin class at this position, so we're going to bump up the priority.
LJ Collier.
And we're going to get LJ Collier.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. So he's learned from it. I hope he continues to stick with that and not just go after Jadarian Price. Last one here from John Anthony, who's been a member for 4 months, says, in Schneider, we trust. I trust John Schneider to make the best decision for the team. He has brought us 2 chips in almost 3. Yes.
He's on a heater, guys.
He is on a heater. Let's hope this is 6. I mean, there's no reason it shouldn't. Now, I don't think you can necessarily get Nicky Manwari at 32. Picking at the very end of each round is a real disadvantage. But if you could just get continually, people focus on those players, but think about Ken Walker and Boye Mafe and Derek Hall and Zach Charbonnet and, on and on. He's gotten some quality second-round players.
Yeah, I think what you got to do in this spot is do a lot of what the Eagles and the Ravens have done over the years, where they just kind of sit back, they let the draft come to them, and they just pick the best guys.
Yes.
I know it sounds basic and stupid, and everyone should do that, but everything we've talked about is neat. Last year, the Eagles sat back. John Campbell just fell to them at 32. I don't think that's going to happen this year per se, but if a Sadiq falls or Thieneman or any of those guys, I think you got to go away from just trying to focus on need. I think the Ravens did this last year. Malachi Starks and Eamon Wari both fell to them. And I think that's really where the Seahawks need to be smart and not put themselves in a position where you have to take a Jadarian Price or you have to take an edge or you have to take a corner. I think when you're picking at this spot, you got to sit back and kind of let it come to you. And I know that sounds boring and basic, but I think that's what works. I think that's what works here.
It's wise. All right, that'll do it for this episode. We will be back, hopefully, with an interview with John Schneider a little bit later. So keep an eye out. If you haven't already subscribed and liked the show, make sure you do. Click the bell to get notified when we go live. We'll see you all soon. That'll do it for this episode. Take care.